Are government efforts to curb migration being hampered by chaos and dysfunction in the Home Office? Well, that's the conclusion drawn by Telegraph journalist Stephen Edginton, who spoke to a series of department insiders for an investigation. And Stephen joins me now. Welcome to the show. Stephen, you've been talking to whistleblowers, department insiders. What's going on in the civil service?
Well, this article aimed to answer the question, why has immigration, both legal and illegal migration, why have those numbers sort of skyrocketed in recent years? Why has there been record numbers coming to Britain? And I looked into the Home Office, and I think I found a fair amount of kind of answers to that question. The one man who has been consistent at the Home Office for the last 3 years, there's been 5 Home Secretaries, is the permanent secretary at the Home Office. Now, he is the most senior civil servant, Sir Matthew Rycroft. He was knighted in 2023. He is a career diplomat. He used to work for Tony Blair. He became an ambassador. He was a representative at the United Nations. And he was quoted on record saying last year that he sees himself as a diplomat and temporarily to be at the Home Office. So some people say his heart really isn't in the job. He's also the civil service so-called race, faith and belief champion. Now, it's a bizarre situation that you've got the most senior person in the Home Office, the department that is controlling our borders, but also our police situation as well. He also spends time discussing matters around diversity, HR, transgenderism, Islam, faith, across the entire civil service. So he has presided over some significant failures in his department, and yet he is also focusing on these, I would describe, woke issues.
Is there a suggestion that whatever government policy might be implemented, that the Home Office might attempt to thwart it for ideological reasons?
I think there are some civil servants who definitely would want to do that. And I've spoken to lots of people inside the department, both civil servants, former special advisors, current special advisors, ministers and people like that, who say, well, yeah, there is of course, a sort of undercurrent of people, unfortunately, who use so-called yes-minister-style tactics to undermine the government. However, at the same time, we can't let ministers off the hook. It is their responsibility to push forward policies that will cut numbers, for example, on immigration and legal immigration. And unfortunately, for the last few years, we've had ministers and prime ministers who have been unable and refused to take those actions that would lead to those policies. So I think that the blame in terms of, to answer my original question, why are numbers so high, the blame is partly on the civil service, but I think most of all it is on ministers and on various prime ministers that we've had in the last few years who have simply decided that the situation in terms of uncontrolled numbers is perfectly fine because we need to help various sort of businesses with cheap labour and things like that. So they made those decisions, and I did hours and hours of phone calls, lots and lots of investigations, writing this article. I've been working on it for quite a while, actually. And I think the ultimate conclusion I came to in my head was actually the most amount of responsibility in terms of the numbers, both illegal and legal, should be held on ministers, not on the civil service.
Yes, but if they're facing a pushback from civil servants who are not fulfilling their role to be non-partisan, shouldn't the government also be dealing with them?
They should be, and I think that some ministers try and deal with these things inside their various departments. The problem they've got is that they're constantly fighting fires, there's constant chaos, there's constant dysfunction. So what you've got in a situation like the Home Office, you've got about 10 or so ministers and SPADs, their special advisors, versus 35,000 civil servants.
Right.
So how are they meant to be on top of all these civil servants and have oversight over those people? It's completely impossible. And as I say, every day there's a new crisis, so it's very, very difficult to reform these institutions.
OK, well, very interesting. Stephen Edginton, thanks so much for joining me.